F is for Family is an animated sitcom on Netflix that just released its second season. The show stars one of my favorite comedians, Bill Burr, as Frank Murphy, a disgruntled Korean War veteran and temperamental lower-class family guy in the 1970s. And speaking of family guys, you're probably rolling your eyes right now at the idea of yet another animated sitcom about a lower-class angry dad, and that's okay, because so did I at first. We're all sick and tired of this genre, it's formulaic as fuck, and nothing will ever top the first 8 seasons of The Simpsons, so why even bother? But I was just intrigued enough by old Billy Redbeard's involvement to give it a chance, and I'm very glad I did. Because while the basic premise is derivative, once the show gets going, it manages to establish an identity of its own, completely unique from its contemporaries. We've seen more and more of this focus on long-form storytelling in more fantasy-driven cartoons, but this is the first time I've seen it applied so thoroughly to the old family sitcom formula. This is especially fun to watch unfold in Season 2, where every member of the family gets their own arc, all of which intertwine with each other and affect their relationships with one another. In Season 2, Frank is struggling to find work after being fired in Season 1, while also dealing with feelings of emasculation and resentment towards Sue for becoming the breadwinner of the family. But Sue is struggling to be taken seriously in the workplace and finds herself longing to be a stay-at-home mom again. The frustration from her daily grind makes her more irritable and has her blowing up at people just like Frank does. Bill's emotional scarring from seeing his parents fuck in Season 1 carries over into Season 2, with him catching Kevin jacking his dong in their shared room, which causes Kevin to demand privacy, leading to a nice bonding scene between father and son as their normally tempestuous relationship is briefly healed when Frank helps him clear out his own room in the basement. But this is short-lived as Frank refuses to apply for unemployment out of pride and has to lie about it to Sue, throwing Kevin under the bus in the process and shaking the boy's faith in him once again. Kevin also has an arc about losing his virginity to the neighbor's girlfriend and feeling guilty about it because that guy has been taking Kevin under his wing, helping with his band, and might beat him up now. Meanwhile, Bill and Maureen are both being neglected, and Bill is dealing with a bully problem while also slowly taking on traits of a bully himself. And Maureen is really smart and wants to do computer stuff, but is having those wishes ignored by her constantly bickering parents due to her gender, which is ironic considering that Sue is going through the same problem at work. And while the poor girl is clearly growing more and more cynical and desensitized to her parents fighting, it is ironically a huge public fight by her parents that makes another child break down and confess to cheating off Maureen's test and revealing to them the depth of her intelligence. Holy crap, that is a lot of characterization. And I didn't even get into the finer details of the plot, like Sue inventing the salad spinner, Frank's vending machine job, or his impressively layered and complex friendship/rivalry/feud with his old boss. None of the central characters ever seem one-dimensional in this show. They all have multiple arcs going on at the same time, and their relationships with each other change in relation to those arcs. Hell, even the neighbor character gets a small arc about kicking his drug habit and becoming a mentor to Kevin. Another way the show sets itself apart from the typical trappings of its genre is with the overall raunchiness. There's a lot more they can get away with on Netflix, like swearing, violence, explicit drug use, sex, and full-on dong swing and nudity. One might worry that such a lack of boundaries is an easy way for a comedy show to lose sight of itself and begin trying too hard to shock the viewer, but the series actually shows just enough subtlety and restraint with these things that it never comes off as edgy or juvenile. Rather than allowing itself to become mired in its adult themes, they serve instead to accentuate the comedy and the narrative. Another one of the show's strengths lies in the ever-present atmosphere of its setting. The 1970s drips off of every aspect of the show and does a great job pulling you into that time and place. This is especially effective right off the bat in the show's excellent opening sequence, with a youthful Frank eagerly soaring off towards his future on some Guardians of the Galaxy shit, before being smacked in the face with a military draft, bills, babies, and all the soul-sucking flotsam of adulthood, and finally plummeting down and crash-landing into suburban purgatory. A bitterly ironic metaphor, since a big part of the character's backstory is that he always dreamed of being a pilot. All it takes is that great visual metaphor and a perfect use of "come and get your love" to make you immediately empathize with this character and put you right in this era with him. These are the ways in which F is for Family forges its own unique identity. But even aspects of the show that are well-tread work well by reminding me not simply of the genre, but of the genre at its best. Like Family Guy, F is for Family is inspired by The Simpsons, but specifically an aspect of it that Family Guy lacks, especially in recent seasons. Whereas Family Guy took the fantastical, cartoony elements of The Simpsons even farther, F is for Family does the same thing, but with the more grounded, realistic aspects. It's a testament to the character of Frank Murphy, as well as to the writing and acting that brings him to life, that I, a 20-something YouTuber in 2017, am able to relate so easily to a 40-year-old dad in the 1970s. As the universe continues to rain shit on Frank, his struggles to retain his pride and support his family remind me of those early Simpsons stories where Homer was less of a stupid goofball and more just a regular poor schlub with anger issues trying to do the same. People nowadays might forget just how dark and relatable The Simpsons used to get sometimes in its depictions of lower-class dysfunction, something that's definitely been lost in modern seasons. But F is for Family takes that tone of dysphoric Americana and squeezes every drop of angst out of it that it possibly can. I don't want to make it seem like the show isn't funny, because it definitely is, but picture a tonal spectrum with BoJack Horseman on one end, Family Guy on the other, and Golden Age Simpsons in the middle. F is for Family would be right about here, and it turns out that's a sweet spot that I've rarely seen on TV. I didn't even mention yet the most obvious but nonetheless indispensable weapon in this show's arsenal, and that is Bill Burr himself. It's true the character was made for him and he's pretty much just playing himself, but he gives a really credible, authentic performance. Burr has a great sounding voice for a character like this as it is, but it's also the fact that he's not only a comedian, but a comedian's comedian known for fearlessly battling hostile crowds, making audiences uncomfortable, and finding a way to make those audiences laugh at their own discomfort, even if he has to drag them to the punchline kicking and screaming. Bill Burr is a guy who gets on stage and fights. He's not what I would call an angry comedian, but he has mastered anger. He's mastered acrimony, indignance, and sarcasm, so much so that it radiates off his personality even when he's in a good mood.
Rage-fueled humor. I don't even think I'm mad.
You don't think that's fair?
No,
you don't
I
think
think
the description is?
No, I'm just old.
A character like this is exactly in Burr's wheelhouse, and he's able to deliver those rage-fueled tirades in a way that remains likable, a skill he's been honing his entire career. And if it were just that, then it would still be an impressive performance. But the remarkable thing is that he also nails the quiet moments. When Frank is feeling lost or low, he's able to imbue the character with a lot of genuine humanity. He's pulling from real emotions and doing some legit acting. He's not just the star of the show, he's the linchpin that holds it all together and makes it work. His name might have gotten him the role, but his performance got it a second season. Well, that and the fantastic writing. Anyways, F is for Family is a great show, and everyone should watch it. Because if you don't, then I swear to God, I am gonna put you through that fucking wall! In this